So I'm usually one to change my tech around quite a bit, especially when it comes to things like my everyday carry or my desk setups, but one of the constants in my everyday is always an iPad. So whether that be the iPad mini 6 or the iPad Air, the straight usability and utility of an iPad always elevates my everyday carry. And of course the iPad is incredible by itself, but of course you can always add some accessories to make that experience a little bit better. So today I want to talk about some of my favorite accessories for 2023. Now some of these accessories will be for the larger iPads like the iPad Pros and the Airs, and some of them might just be for the iPad mini. And of course some of these accessories might be for both. So here are my absolute favorite accessories for the iPad in 2023. And of course I'll have all of my accessories linked down below in the video description. And the first one I want to jump off with is this magnetic clamp stand from a company called Kuxiu. This has been incredibly useful, especially with my large L-shaped desk. Since I'm always moving between both my gaming and creative side, I found this incredibly useful for me since I can move it back and forth at any point. Whenever I'm gaming, I find it useful for things like having a game guide up. For myself, I've been playing lots of Diablo 4 and having a class guide up has been perfect. And of course, whenever I'm doing any sort of creative or productivity work, I can move my iPad over and still use it for any sort of reference. And between macOS and iPadOS, it's nice having this right next to my monitor, especially since Mac now has universal control, which lets me move my mouse right over from my Mac to iPad and still control everything I need. Now in terms of how this thing is put together, it's incredibly sturdy. The stand itself is made of steel, and one of the things I absolutely love is actually how strong the hinges are. This is definitely a must-have in any desk setup. And the next accessory is for whenever I'm at my desk, but also away, and that's the Tomtoc 4-mode case. And it's made it heavily into my day-to-day, mainly because of its versatility. For myself, I'm at the office a couple times a week for my day job, and if I'm ever on the go with an iPad, I typically like to have some sort of case that I can use not only for protection, but also to prop up my iPad in meetings at my desk, or if I'm just working at a coffee shop alongside my MacBook. And this case in particular is surprisingly lightweight yet tough. Plus, it does allow me to set up my iPad in many different ways. I can set it up in a portrait mode, landscape, flat on any surface, or angled in this sort of sketch mode, which I actually use a lot for any sort of note-taking. I actually really dig this case is in two parts as well, since I'm not forced to have the cover or stand if I don't want to. Just the versatility alone is huge for me. Plus, there's magnets. I simply love magnets across any and all accessories. I also appreciate how slim yet protective this case is as well. It has these little pockets on each corner, keeping things well protected if I do drop my iPad, so I really can't complain. And while I don't use my iPad alone while working at any sort of coffee shop, I do always pair an iPad with my MacBook, which is a perfect companion. These pair incredibly well. Plus, it still has a spot for my Apple Pencil to connect, which is actually my next accessory. I know it's just the Apple Pencil and it's pretty popular by itself, but this pairs incredibly well with both my iPad Air and iPad mini. Its simple connectivity but vast amounts of usages is simply invaluable. Well, not actually invaluable, it's about 130 bucks US, which is still kind of pricey, but if I lost my Apple Pencil today, I'd be at the Apple store tomorrow buying another one. For myself, I write all of my rough draft videos in the Apple Freeform app before fleshing the rest of it out in Apple Notes. I really like the different writing tools you have available to you using the Apple Pencil, and all the capabilities across iPadOS are simply badass. Between the pressure sensitivity and the writing experience itself, this is definitely a good accessory to have for the iPad. And for people who are far more talented than myself, like artists, this is literally a must-have. Now the next one I use is for my iPad mini, but it is also available for the larger iPads, and that's the Pitaka wireless charging case and stand. One of the things I've always wanted on iPad finally came around last year, and that's wireless charging. And I've been using it ever since to wirelessly charge my iPad mini 6. And since the mini 6 is already so small, even with the case, it's still tiny. And this is simply one of the most useful things. The whole iPad does rotate 360 degrees, and the base itself has a wireless charger. All around, it's super useful. And even if you don't want the charging stand, you can still get the standalone charging puck, which will still charge your iPad through the case. And again, what can I say? Magnets. This next accessory is also from Apple, and again, like the Apple Pencil, it's super popular. And that's the AirPods Pro 2s. Typically, I'd only talk about third-party accessories, but frankly, Apple makes some damn good earbuds and they pair perfectly with the iPad. For myself, when I'm working during the day, I love to pair my AirPods to my iPad, mainly for Microsoft Teams. I can't seem to get along with the Windows version of Microsoft Teams, so I do like to use this on my iPad whenever I'm taking calls. Not to mention the Apple ecosystem makes it insanely easy to transition between devices. For myself, one of the main things I want is to be able to take calls and bump music flawlessly, and these do exactly that. And if you're somehow unfamiliar with with the AirPods Pro 2s. These give me incredible noise cancellation, all while providing a good sound quality. This next accessory is for whenever I'm traveling with my iPad mini 6, and that's this TechDot from Harbour London. It's just one of those things that keeps everything super organized and in one place. It has tiny pockets inside that I use for microfiber cloths, a Type-C charger, as well as all the cables I need like a Type-C to Lightning and C to C. But primarily, again, this is where I put my iPad mini 6 when I'm on the go, since it fits absolutely perfectly. It's not something you'll need every day, but it is easy to fit inside any sort of luggage or check bag. There's also a magnetic keychain in here, which is a nice touch, but I don't really use this personally. The whole thing is super high quality and elegant, so it definitely makes it into one of my top favorite accessories for the iPad mini 6. Now next up is where I actually want to talk about some accessories I want to try in the future, and I would like some of your suggestions. And for myself right now, that's going to be a paper textured screen protector and maybe the Magic Keyboard. Like I mentioned, I write tons on my iPad, especially when working on new videos or whenever I'm at the office, so I'd love to try and see how those paper screen protectors feel. Let me know if it's worth it. I haven't figured out which one I want to try yet. And the other one, like I mentioned, is a Magic Keyboard. I personally feel like if I'm going to be using a keyboard on an iPad, I might as well use my MacBook. Is there really that big of a difference in experience? If you have any suggestions for iPad accessories, please do let me know, and maybe revisit my iPad accessories video in the future. Anyways, that's been it. Thanks for watching. Till next time.